quick sound. Oh, get in the car real quick. We're gonna wrap a taste real quick. Much love, much love. Highest vibes. We're gonna share this to the feeds. Murda Mook and Amber Rose. Murda Mook had a conversation with Amber Rose. They were on Drink Champs. Shout out to Noriega. Shout out to Loaded Lux. Shout out to other participants in the conversation. But I felt the conversation was a juicy one, a good one, and a good topic of discussion in today's dogma, today's society. Like all conversations, being fluid and shifting and moving and navigating, it didn't stick to the original point in the issue, but that was a good thing because it got, you feel me, depth and substance came to the forefront and to the table around that episode. So this in which we employ in today's society, we use words and we put power into certain words, and sometimes we don't acknowledge or realize how dehumanizing or how demeaning that may be to those taken unto the word, you know what I'm saying, or being called that word, and the societal power around the perception of them when they're labeled such a word. So, all right, but the conversation starts, well, not the beginning, but the conversation gets juicy. They're talking about being in a club and partaking, drinking, ass shaking and whatnot. And then Loaded Lux mentions CMOS in the club. It's funny because there's different types of gems being dropped. Nori clowning Loaded Lux for mentioning CMOS in the club. Of course, you know, that environment, that frequency. Why would a nigga have CMOS in the club? And then Loaded Lux is like, oh, I really do that. And he's dropping information about 92 of the minerals in your body of the 102 composed of CMOS. So he's delegating that information, but that's not even the main issue at hand and the main point. But I like how the conversation is fluid. You feel me? Water, you know what I'm saying? Especially a good dialogue. It don't have to be rigid and fixated on one essential point, which in this conversation you could tell was fluid. So he talking about that. They clowning him about CMOS. And then while he's breaking down the benefits, Mook explains to the fans it's about consistency. Now, what he meant from my interpretation, and when you watch the video, you'll be able to gather it too. What he meant was when Lux was talking about CMOS, some people might take CMOS once or twice and think it don't work. But Mook implied it's about consistency. So if you take it a consistent amount of times, then you'll see the effects. You'll see the shit start working. But he used that as an analogy to explain consistency, because it was more about consistency than it was about CMOS at the point for Mook. He was just tying that into one another. So he said, yeah, everything is about consistency. And then when he said that, he broke down some bars. He had a bar like, what is this we seeing? Well, he said he got a saying, no talent is the new talent. And that's key for this conversation, so you know that, because he said consistency matters. So you don't even have to have talent, but if you have consistency, then you'll get notarized and you'll have success. So that is the new talent. But when he says no talent is the new talent, he specifies the types of talent or lack of talent. He said dudes wilding, violence, dudes doing shit on the crate wilding, girls twerking their ass. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what he said, but he listed a slew of things in which he considered to be talentless. But now it is a talent. So, you know what I'm saying? It's a redundant saying. But when he says that, once he says girls twerking on the ground and girls getting famous niggas and getting famous for having famous niggas, Amber Rose chimes in. Amber Rose is like, period. So you can see from that point right there, Amber Rose took offense, which is okay. I need people to understand. In discussion, you have that Oh, I said I went out. I don't know why. You have this realm of discussion, and then you have this realm of humans discussing. So within the realm of human discussion, you'll have emotion, you'll have rhetoric, you'll have reasoning that is logically deductible. So you'll have all these things. So when he's rapping and he says girls twerking or girls getting famous off fucking another nigga who's famous, being a new talent, Amber Rose, you can tell she responds to that by saying period. So when he finishes his rap, again though, his main point was consistency. His main point was to emphasize that consistency in CMOS will show the results, and consistency in general will show results over something that may be talented but not consistent. You feel me? So it gets away from that point when Amber Rose chimes in and says period. So she asks him right after, he's like, all right, so what's the problem? So what's the problem? And Mook is like, hold on, it's just no problem. But Amber Rose sees a problem in it, and she sees a problem in his addressing what she deems shouldn't be a problem. No talent is the new talent, because after Mook says his verse, he says like, it's disgusting. You feel me? Like girls getting paid $2,000 for posting pictures or getting paid to show up in clubs. These are some of the things that Amber Rose does, by the way. So he said no talent is the new talent and calling it disgusting. These are subtle slights. These are implications, derogatory implications of someone's actions. You feel me? This is important because Mook, he backpedaled a little bit by saying he didn't do it, but you're saying somebody is not talented. That's a slight to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how y'all perceive these words in Dame's world, but if you say somebody is talentless, that's a subtle undermining of that person's character. And then if you say it's disgusting, so when you talk about the acts and you say it's disgusting, you're undermining the actions of Amber Rose and all those who in which the shoe fits. So he kind of backpedaled by saying, oh, I'm just reporting the news. No, you're reporting the news from Murda Mook's perspective. So you're reporting the male bias of the news. As Amber Rose is taking in your report with her feminine and her female bias. So it's biases all along. In discussion, you're going to have biases. That's nature. So she says, what's the issue? A bitch twerking and getting her money? Like, why you got a problem with that? And here's the thing. You don't have to encourage every action. Nobody has to encourage every action. So in regards to Mook, I just wish Mook stood on it and didn't backpedal, but that's another thing. But in regards to Amber Rose's point, there's a difference between not encouraging an action and demeaning a character for the action. So when you talk about hoes and bitches and sluts and how we've used that term generally, especially in male society. In female society, it's a little bit different because, again, it's like, it's not exactly like nigga, so I know what y'all gonna say. Nigga is a predisposition, so you're giving that term based on skin color and not action. So they're not analogous, but I'm saying like, opposed to when a black person says, what's up, my nigga? And then a white person says, what's up, my nigga? They hold different connotations because of the subject. So it's analogous in that sense when men use hoe, bitch, and slut to the woman in comparison to when a woman does it. You might have homegirls say, hey, bitch, like, and they're using it as a term of endearment. Hint, hint, the same way black people use it as a term of endearment to one another. So they're analogous in that way. So when you see Mook saying bitch or hoe and Amber Rose, and also you're denigrating the talents of the bitches and hoes in which you're talking about. So you're undermining not only their work, but their character. Like, it's disgusting. You say that in the bars. This is the evidence. So for me, as a male, looking at how I grew up and looking at how I've been shaped in society, I have to ask, okay, what privileges do I got? What privileges do I have as a male? We live in a Western, male, European-based society. So if the standards are created by those subjects and you apply exclusively almost keep going out for some reason, almost exclusively delegated to white men. So as a male, I have leadership position. I'm a black male, so I don't have as much power. All right, hold on. Let me try to bear with me. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second, people. Let me get some light in here. I'm gonna set the tone. But like I said, privilege is just having rights in which other people don't have. So leadership positions being predominantly exclusive to males, that's a privilege. Having the same job but being delegated a higher pay, that's a male privilege. So when you look at all the male privileges and then you hear a woman talking, we have to be more empathetic. We have to be more empathetic and we have to be more compassionate to those who are not exactly like us. It's easy for me to be empathetic and compassionate to a black male. I understand what they go through because I go through the same thing. But it's more difficult for us to understand, me as a male, to understand a woman's perspective. I have to make the attempt to look at shit from their perspective. So when it came to Mook's argument, when he tried to remove himself from the responsibility, and again, it's not like he was intentionally demeaning or undermining, but he was just being a male in Western society in reference, because they were undermining, oh, well, you can say hoe in an endearing term. You can. But is that how we say hoe in society? Hold on, going on. Hold on, people. I got to share it more to Facebook because it slowed up. All right, we back. All right, so if you look at the term hoe or bitch and the roots, because Amber Rose, like, what she said that I didn't agree with, she said men shouldn't speak on woman. And that was her emotional response, lack of reasoning, but it was in reference to her being offended by the claim in Mook's bars. Now, I don't agree with that, but I do think, knowing our privilege and our power in society as men, we should be mindful of how we employ certain words. Some words are demeaning and they have an effect on how people live. So, like, and again, I concur. We put power into words, but there is a collective agreement essentially as to what these words mean. And when we make collective agreements in this realm of objective reality, then somebody can be viewed as lesser or subordinate based on these claims. So even from my relativity of understanding hoe and slut, from my relativity as a black male in Western society, growing up in minority-based areas, those are not endearing terms. If someone, it's like the scarlet letter. If someone has been deemed a slut or a hoe in society, then their value has been depreciated in Western society. It may not be like that for everybody. And then Mook had a rebut of, oh, I'm a hoe. Again, the word, okay, And that's where we get juicy. The word is uh, made out of the essence of something. So when something happens, that's where we create words for it. So the first time a nigga started etching some shit in stone, and the first observation of that, that's when one came to be like, oh, this is writing. Somebody is writing. So the word isn't, the action precedes the word. So hoe in action is somebody who pays or who gets paid to have sex. Now, historically, that connotation or that denotation has been in reference with the connotation of woman, because a long line of employment, you feel me, a long line of, or one of the oldest forms of employment has been prostitution, and women have been the ones prostituting. So hoe has been almost exclusively given to women and not men. So when Murda Mook says I'm a hoe, yeah, it doesn't hold the same weight, because when you perform that same action, that whole action, even though I don't think Murda Mook meant it with the connotation of he gets paid to have sex, he probably meant it in the connotation of he sleeps with a lot of people. More so slut than hoe. But even if you said you're a slut, the male connotation, we're not used to getting called that. We're used to getting called a player. Oh, you got a gang of bitches, nigga, you a player. You're not a slut. Makes much a difference. That is privilege, because you have the same action, but you have different treatments from the action. So it is a privilege as a man to be able to sleep with as many women as I want, and I get impunity. But when a woman sleeps with as many men as they want, scarlet letter, devalued, lesser than. And some people might argue biologically, I'm not making this argument, but some people might argue that women aren't supposed to sleep with a lot of people and men are biologically. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If I could see anything in regards to that, the ability for me to procreate at the level in which I procreate. Okay, maybe I may be more wired to more partners, maybe. But even so, that doesn't give me the right to delegate the responsibility of a woman. That doesn't give men the right to delegate the responsibility. Doesn't give society the right to delegate the responsibility of the woman and what they should do. What a woman should do with her body is what she should do with her body. Now, I don't encourage every behavior. I encourage authenticity. So if you naturally are promiscuous, if you naturally like having sex, male or female, and that's just, then go do it. And then that line of employment suits you. You will be a good hoe. Go do it if that's what you. So I've removed myself from that bias. I had a long bias of thinking that that was demeaning. But if somebody loves to do it and likes to do that gesture, go get paid for it. It's no different than if I like to go whatever it is. I like to play sports. Go pursue sports for a career and make a wage off it. If you like to do it, I just don't suggest doing shit that you don't like to do. I discourage, uh, I don't discourage. Well, yeah, I do. I discourage anyone uh, having or not having to. Anyone, how do I say it? Because I respect people doing what they got to do to make a wage and make a survival. So a lot of us have jobs in which we don't want to do, but in order to make a wage, we do it. So I respect that to the fullest. However, I don't encourage it for the fulfillment of your own essence and your energy. If you're doing something consistently, routinely, your essential properties are going to be affected by it, your mind, your body, as well as your soul. So if this thing contradicts how you want to be and how you want to live, then you're not fulfilling yourself ultimately, though you're making capital. So for anybody, and this pertains to purpose, for anybody, I would not encourage doing something consistently that you don't want to do. However, if you want to do it, who am I to say it's it's something you shouldn't do as a woman. So, essentially, all right, and then you have she says that men shouldn't say anything. I disagree, but then she gets to the essential point of hoe and how it's used, and then she makes her comparison to it, how black people use nigga in comparison to the white person. Which, again, I don't think that's a the best analogy because black is a predisposition. You don't choose to be black. You just are black. Whereas hoe, well, you might not choose to be a hoe either if it's your essence. But to act and to perform the action is a choice in itself. So while they're not the same, I can see the analogy and how they're used in contemporary society. So I felt Amber Rose on her point, and then looking at it, I couldn't help but to draw the analogy between how males respond to females in these conversations in comparison to how white people respond to black people in racial conversations. Because Lux and Mook is, oh, I love women. That's the first thing white people do. I like black people. It's dismissive because there's a general notion. There's a general ideology that suppresses the woman, that suppresses the black person, to where your independent anecdotal case, which is really a defense mechanism, that's what people do when they feel attacked. Oh no, I love black people. Oh no, I love all women. I got a mom. We know this. We know you are attached to females, and we know you are attached to black people. That doesn't change the ideology that you might have that shapes the perspective of black people or women in general. So we can't hide behind that guy. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, they're not listening to the woman. They're not listening to the woman. And then she asked all of the women whether or not they agreed. Now they agreed. Not maybe could be some sheepish agreement, but they agreed for the most part. So that's something that I would factor into account as a male while I'm observing. So it's like, oh shit, well, because the gripe is calling us hoes, calling us bitches, calling us sluts, and Amber Rose called herself a slut. So the difference is with the term of endearment. And they were talking about the power. Lux was saying the power is in how you say it, which I agree. You're such a fucking hoe. I love it. Opposed to you're goddamn slut. You're a hoe. The energy behind it definitely matters. Or you in an intimate sexual scene and your girl might want you to give her some expletives. You feel me? I don't get that crazy down and dirty in the bedroom, but some people might like doing that shit. So yeah, the context of how you say it matters, but we gotta look at independent of the human context and isolate the essence of what's going on. And regardless, I think value is not subject to uh well, we make value subject to human interpretation, but value is value in itself. Anything of substance holds weight and holds value in this society, regardless of how we interpret it. So you're a life form, you're existing and you're living, you hold value. So regardless if somebody is doing something that you don't approve of, somebody might be out here thieving. I don't respect the act of stealing from another person. However, that person does have value still. I respect that life form enough to not look at it as subhuman or dehumanize it for the actions in which they employ. So that was generally Amber Rose's gripe. Like, oh yeah, you niggas are demeaning us for our actions. But again, you don't have to approve. Nobody has to approve of every action, but you have to respect the essence behind those acting. If that makes sense to you niggas. Um, Hold on real quick. I'm checking my YouTube to see something. I'm gonna see something. Okay. Yeah, cool. I was just checking. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just feel like if we are empathetic, if we are compassionate and understanding, like we all claim to be, we will remove our bias and see things from a place in which we don't naturally take the position. Because I could never be a female ever. I could never be a female. So I can always project my understanding of what they go through from my experiences. Or I could always say, oh, well, from my point of view, I'm not being offensive to you when I say bitch. Cause all right, in casual conversation, I might tell the homies, hey, I met this bitch. Me, I might do that. I met this bitch the other day, but this is so implicit. Even though I may not mean harm, I'm still calling her a bitch, a female dog. Historically derogatory uh, connotations to that term, bitch. So we have used these terms, and whether or not we think we're using them in an endearing fashion or we're just calling a spade, this can affect the well-being of someone in which we're using that word on, specifically women in general. So, just knowing you have power, like if male perspective is pervaded in society, then that comes a level of power and influence in our word when we speak. People more so in Western world adhere to male speech than female speech. It's unfortunate, but that's another privilege we have. When I talk, it's warranted with more respect around the room, especially amongst men. Women, of course, are aware of that because they experience that. Same way black people are aware that they're less respected in the room because they experience that. Direct analogy. So you have to, with that awareness, you just have to be mindful. Okay, when I say stuff as a male, people might take to it, people might adhere to it. So if I call somebody a hoe, an undermining tone, that might stick and that might permeate in society. And that every time well, not every time, because lately I've been growing out of my biases and becoming more conscious of the choices I want to make and how I want to behave. I haven't been acting like a robot as much. So lately I've been denouncing the negative connotations to words like hoe, to words, well, not bitch, because bitch in essence is not just female. Bitch to me, again, definitions, we have arbitrary connotations to them, even though we can root it. But bitch to me is somebody who's scandalous, who's somebody who's acting a certain way. Now, it can be expressed. It's a to me, the expression is like negative feeling. So you might be fussing, you might be complaining, you might be whining, you might be sassy, you might be talking back. So that action of emotion to me is a feminine gesture more so than a masculine. However, it's not exclusive to females because men have feminine gestures and men have femininity within their spectrum. So men act like bitches too. So, bitch, bitch, I still hold as an action that is uh, not encouraging. I don't encourage acting like a bitch. But however, unconsciously we've used bitch interchangeably with female. So I do discourage using bitch interchangeably with female because that's just implication of a derogatory term to female. Like using nigga in regards to all black people. I like when niggas call white people niggas. What up, my nigga? Because it's not making it exclusive to black, you know what I'm saying, with the implications of inferiority and subordinate, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about words. We use these words and we change the connotation over time, synchronic and diachronic. Uh, Subjects have different interpretations of the words, and we don't always communicate and be like, okay, what do you mean by this? Okay, this is what I mean by the word bitch. This is what I mean by the word bitch. We don't always critically pay attention to how we're using the words. We just use them. You know what I'm saying? Casual jargon, niggas talking shit in conversation. Everybody ain't using the realm of reason and logic to do shit. So it's understandable. how people can be sheepishly derogatory. They're not trying to be derogatory, but they're being sheepishly derogatory. So for me lately, let's bring it all the way back. Bitch, I still have a negative association with the action, but not the person. If somebody's acting like a bitch, they're acting like a bitch. I don't think they are a bitch. They're fixed to act. No, they can change, and they're better than what they're displaying. Even though they're displaying that bad behavior, they're still a human. So I think undermining and dehumanizing is like the essential point of Amber Rose's claim. And as a male, sometimes you just gotta listen. You don't have to be like, oh no, but I didn't mean, like Mook said, all right, I'm just reporting. You're reporting from your perspective. No, you calling shit, you saying shit is no talent. Shaking ass, I can't shake my ass. So it's evident that it's a talent to shake your ass, or to even pose for a picture. That's talented. To do a crate challenge, that's talented. And I've had Mook perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, in regards to not the viewership, but more so people doing things for, again, inauthentic shit. I don't appease to inauthentic shit. So I do get disgusted when people are doing things that they wouldn't normally do, but are only doing it for the sake of like viewership and clout. So it's not saying that the shit is talentless, but it's saying that somebody is not being pure with what they're doing. And on the internet, you see a lot of the times people being impure. Oh man, I'm doing this crate challenge so I can get 1 million views. But again, niggas is hustling. I'm not knocking nobody hustling. Salute D Nice. Much love to you, man. Highest the vibes, man. We in here. You know how we do it. You know how we give it up in Dame's world, man. The discussion right now is Amber Rose and Murder Mook. I don't know if you heard their conversation and their dialogue, but it pertained to the nature of how we use these words when we refer to woman, bitch, hoe, slut. Not everybody do it. Somebody call them queens, you know what I'm saying? Goddesses. I know in my later years, which I could segue back to my point, I used to associate those words all in the way society does, in a negative connotation. Bitch, the action still I do, because bitch is a form of scandalous, treacherous behavior. It's not just a woman, but it's like acting like a bitch is acting a certain essence that I don't appreciate. But hoe and slut, somebody being someone who sleeps with a lot of men or women, because I think a man could be a slut. I don't discourage that action. We used to hold that against women. You're a slut. If you're a slut, then oh yeah, you're not worth as much as the person who's not a slut. I don't think we need to weigh them. Comparison is the killer of joy. I heard somebody say that. But we don't even have to compare the monogamous one man woman to the person who is promiscuous. Without the comparison, we can have a better level of respect for both of them. Yeah, she get down. She loves to have sex. It's some people who need that in life. It's some men who need a slut. Just like there's some men who need the one man woman. You feel me? It's room for everybody in this world. There's room for everybody in this world. So we don't have to undermine and demean a person because we don't approve of the action. A slut might not be your preference. That's okay. A monogamous woman, one man woman might not be your preference. You might like the slut. It's okay. So it's the demeaning. So like for me, slut and hoe, I used to have demeaning connotations to it. Now I don't. Now I only demean the action of inauthenticity. If you're not living your true path, if you're not doing what you love to do, always seek and search for that. Therefore, fulfillment will come. And I believe the capital or the tangible uh, aspect of gain in order to survive will be there too. You chasing your path and your purpose, man. The divine mathematics around you favors you to do your math right. Following your purpose is doing your math right. So I only discourage people acting inauthentic. I don't even know, with inauthenticity. You know what I'm saying? But if you are naturally someone who loves to have sex, make wages off of it. If you're naturally someone who is a slut and you become a prostitute or a hooker, hey. No, yeah, the thing is, it is, hold on. It should be viewed differently. That's the thing, because they are different. Actions that are different should be viewed differently. It's just neither should be viewed as subhuman or a lesser of an action. There's preference. I have a preference. You know what I'm saying? I want the woman of my children to not be as promiscuous. Now that could be ego. That could be my intuitive feel about things. I don't know. I'm still discovering that. However, I don't look at my preference as better than what I don't prefer. It's a difference between somebody saying, "Oh, I don't date blacks and I don't prefer blacks." Yeah, we different from white folks. We different. That's to be acknowledged, that's to be respected, that's to be analyzed. The distinctions and the differences. But it's not, "Oh, I don't talk to them because, oh yeah, now it's subhuman connotations taken towards that. Oh yeah, you're demeaning black people." It's not a preference. It's a preference, but it's a demeaning and undermining and a devaluing preference. You don't like them because you don't think they're worthy. So yeah, no, like sleeping with a lot of women should be looked at differently from sleeping with a lot of men as a woman should be looked at differently from sleeping with a little bit of man. As is sleeping with a lot of women. It's just in male society you see the distinction. When a nigga don't sleep with a lot of women, his his character is in question. Sad to say, people question whether or not he has the capacity to be a man in this society, which is crazy. You gotta assess the functionality of man. If somebody has slept with one person their whole life or two people, and I had this perspective of thinking that I need to get my numbers up as a man. It's like a rite of passage to sleep with a lot of women in black male society for sure. I can't say, not for sure, but more often than not. I can't say permeating through all the male society, but it's a form of rite of passage to get yours off. And you looked at as lame if you don't get yours off. And you looked at as cool when you get yours off. So in reverse to the female, which is where our privilege shows, if I'm a slut, I get praise. I'm a man. Oh yeah, nigga, the more you smack, the more you act. The more you smack, the more you back, nigga. And as a woman, the more you, oh yeah, your value goes down every time you do that. My value go up. Boop, 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 boop. It's not fair, man. What that nigga TL's, that's my quarterback. So yeah, to your point, boss, D Nice, the distinction should be the distinction. If you have basic discernment, the distinction of black and white should be evident. I don't like when niggas say I don't see color. Like, what are you ignoring me? Or are you closing your eyes? That person has a white face. I have a brown face, melanated face. You should see the distinction. It's just taking that distinction and being aware of how the distinction is permeated in society and being aware of how you're distinct to opposing subjects, to know how you may receive information and light in this world that you navigate around, and also to be mindful of how you interact with that distinguished member in society. How I talk to a woman. I should be mindful when I talk to a woman that I shouldn't employ the same rhetoric as when I talk to my boys because this could be offensive. Hey, I was talking to this bitch. I got at this bitch the other day. I could say that with the homies, and it's understood. Now I'm more conscious. I don't want to permeate that as much. I'm conscious of the signaling. So I've been working diligent to not even use that. But I grew up unconsciously calling females bitches. And that's fucked up. I still call men niggas though. That might be fucked up too, but it's something about that connotation to where I still keep it. I'm still tapped into that culture so much that that shit is an environmental reality, and I don't even be wanting to let that go. I'm gonna be honest with you. A nigga gonna say nigga. You niggas label me this. Y'all call me this. We flipped it and reversed it, and now you saying I can't say it, nigga? Please. I'm the nigga. And again, at essence, I don't connotate it to the denotation is black person. The connotations are subhuman, lesser, subordinate, and I don't have those connotations. You know what I'm saying? So when I employ it, it's without those connotations. However, nigga still on the surface and the term has those connotations in the reality. Same way with hoe and slut, like I said with Mook and Lux and them. Like they could say they're using it endearing, but the word itself has a general connotation around it. So when I use nigga, I don't like using nigga around certain people because of knowing the general connotation. So amongst my homies, yeah, it's permissible. From around a gang of white folks, I don't want you niggas to think that y'all can just pop this off and it's gonna be cool in your reality. The nigga pass is not transcended through speech, nigga. I can't just you hear me say it and think you could say, hey, free reigns, nigga. But nah, yeah, so you just got to be mindful when having these interactions. And then when people tell you, like Amber Rose was telling them, like, that's offensive to me. We think that's offensive. What right or wrong is out the window. Offense is subjective. So whether or not you tried to offend them, oh no, we didn't try to, that's cool, but you offended them. You didn't try to, so your intent was righteous, but you still offended them unconsciously. So therefore, in order to not offend them, you have to take in that information, be mindful and aware the next time, so you cannot offend such subjects. So maybe hoe and bitch should be employed differently. I know for sure I use hoe and slut now when they're applicable. If somebody is a slut, then I say it. I think it. Like, I'm not a nigga to tell y'all I try not to judge because I'm just a real nigga. My mind is a a walking judgment. I right now I'm looking outside, the sun ain't out. That's a judgment. Okay, then it won't be as hot as when the sun is out. That's a judgment. See a little bit of wind, I see trees. I'm making judgments all day for the sake of my existence and survival. That's what the mind does. So I'm not one of those niggas to tell you, oh yeah, well, I try not to judge. No, I make judgments. So if somebody sleeps, if I know, again, and it's still arbitrary, because a slut is somebody who sleeps with many people. What is many people? My brother made a good point. You can know 3 people that a girl slept with and you call her a slut. Just because relative in your environment, you seen her sleep with 3 people. However, what if she only slept with 3 people her whole life? You just happen to know them niggas. Is she still a slut? Do we call men sluts? So, when the title or the essence applies to me, like a thief is a thief. So that nigga, well, he is acting like a thief. Whether he is incorrigible or has the ability to change, that's I don't have the power uh to know. So I'm gonna give that nigga the benefit of the doubt. They are stealing right now, so they're acting like a thief. They're playing the role of the thief. She's playing the role of the hoe. So I call it how I see it. However, with even if somebody is a thief, that's a profession. You're a professional thief is what you do consistently. Because I feel the label is applicable when it's consistent. Even though nobody knows here. Denounce labels in its entirety. Live your life freely and purely without the labels, because labels only confine and reduce you to the capacity of that label. So if you're labeled as a thief, then uh you might take into that label so much that you act solely as a thief. You don't know how to be nothing else outside of a thief because this is your truth. So I'm not with the labels. However, if someone shows a consistency in the action, then the label is justified. So if a nigga steal all day, somebody call him a thief, it's an accurate label to put on a nigga. Though I'm not with the labels. So if somebody uh, has been hoeing for 10 years and I call them a hoe, it's an accurate label. Now, if I call them the hoe with the connotation that they're unworthy, you don't listen to what a hoe say. She a hoe. Well, I can't listen to what a hoe say. I don't even know that hoe. She probably a genius. You feel me? Oh man, she just a slut. You can do whatever you want to her. No, I can't. She a slut, but she still can choose what it is I can do in that engagement. Some niggas are sick. They think that because she's a slut that they automatically have the rite of passage to her. And this should get biblical, the subordination of women. So we got to be careful because we give these denouncing labels and they give us the right to undermine and treat people treat people in an objectifying way or a dehumanizing way or a possessive way. Whole slut, a lot of people think that they should bend the knee to a man. Some people think their wife should have sex with them whenever they want because it's their wife. If y'all made that agreement, hey, negotiate the terms, man. It's your life. Negotiate the terms of agreement and what you want with your spouse because you are coexisting. And if the terms of agreement is you want sex every day and she says she's agreed to that and maybe she even wants it, then fine, cool. But don't think without speaking on the terms that because she's your wife, like it's your PlayStation 5, that you can play it whenever you want. No, her end is not your means. Her end is her end. That means she still got a path and a journey. So now if her journey aligns with your means, like her path is to find love and build a family with you, and that aligns with your journey and is also a means to your end, and your uh, path is a means to hers, then cool, hey. But if that ain't her end, then don't use her as a means to your end. She's not just your wife. She's who she is. You're not just her husband. You are who you are. So people gotta respect. People gotta respect freedom. And you gotta give people the freedom to express themselves and be who they are without subjugating them because they hold a title and a role to you. Oh, she's a woman. She's supposed to listen to me. What about the men? Are they supposed to listen to you? If I'm talking, you listen. It's a basic human function, but why? Because she's a woman, she has to listen more. You can beat her into submission a little more because of what you were taught about women and submitting and men and leading and dominating. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, it's muddy waters, it's murky waters. I just said we gotta be mindful of. We gotta be mindful. You gotta be mindful of what you're doing, what you're saying, how it's effective in society, and how you're perpetuating or denouncing the power of what you're doing or what you're saying in society. So like I will use from that conversation, real shit, shout out to Amber Rose. I will not be using hoe, bitch, and slut in derogatory fashions. Bitch, I might. I'm not gonna lie. Hoe and slut, I will not use in derogatory. And I've already been on that path and journey. I just haven't implemented it to my unconscious to where I'm practicing it vehemently. I still, in casual conversation, talking to the homies, I hollered at a bitch the other day, and I meant woman. But bitch implies a different connotation to where it's undermining, like I'm calling them less of a woman. So, and that's a part of growing though, like realizing you have these things about you that you picked up from the culture, and they have an effect on society. And you might have power as a male. You might have power as a white male. I hope white men see this video. You know what I'm saying? I hope white men see this video and realize the power that they have and the privilege that they have as a male and as a white male and the effect it could have on everybody else. We can help. And that's the thing about being a collective of people. And we like we are oppressed, melanated people. So you would think that the understanding would be better, but because of like relativity and narcissism and understanding being so subject to who you are, we don't we don't really align with uh the female perspective. As black men, we don't align with the black female or the white female perspective because our male predisposition permits us from fully understanding. So we have to be compassionate, we have to be empathetic, uh we have to know that our form of oppression ain't the only form of oppression. So, and then we have to draw the analogies. Look at how we talk when women, we dismiss their argument like they ain't the woman. They're telling us their experience and we'll dismiss the argument. Men get raped too. I hear niggas say that. Men get raped too. That's like saying white people go to jail too. Yeah, there's no exception. All rules have exceptions, but look at the general. Yes, white people go to jail too. Does that mean institutional and systemic racism for black people isn't being perpetuated through the numbers? No, it does not mean that. It just means white people also go to jail too. It doesn't discredit the racial injustices for black people in America. Yes, men get raped too. That doesn't discredit the woman when they say we are sexually abused and it's not reported and it's not criminalized and it's something that scars us and uh, traumatizes us for forever more consistently than men. Just because a man gets raped too, that does not dismiss the fact that women get abused more in society physically. People really think people think like because you're seeing an ideology that is, to me, emasculating the woman by overmasculating the woman. I mean, emasculating the male by overmasculating. Hypermasculinity look like a bitch sometimes to me. You get mad and you're overly aggressive and hype and you're emotionally driven and not rationally driven. I think the true masculine essence is to be pragmatic in choice, to have intention and ambition, to be in touch with their feminine and the feminine spectrum, to be able to cry, to be able to understand their emotions and let them out when apt, not to understand them as a man. As a man, I'm not supposed to cry. I'm only supposed to get mad and angry. That looked like a bitch to me. To me. So the apt male or the apt form of masculinity isn't being shown now because what society is perpetuating is that hyper masculine male, which is in consequence the more feminine male to me, not able to control their emotions, not able to have a rational, reasonable dialogue and discuss their way out of a issue. Niggas even hear issue and they feel a certain, I got an issue with you. No matter what, you could have had my parking spot. We have an issue. Doesn't mean I want to fight you. We just have an issue. I need to get my car in that spot, and your car is in my spot. Could you please move your car, bro? Yep, I got you. Bam, issue resolved. But we're in such a hyper masculine society. When we have issues, we automatically get to survival, fight or flight mode, and want to fight. And I got an issue with you now. Niggas is emotional already. It's just an issue. So with these pretenses, I see that hyper masculine male being pervading, and I don't see true masculinity being expressed because true masculinity is with respect to femininity, not with the thought that they're just completely subordinate. No, it's a functionality. There's a divine role that the feminine essence plays, as there is a divine role that the masculine essence plays. And when they come together, the masculine and the feminine, it makes for even more abundant union. You know what I'm saying? You combine the two forms in that union to where whatever the essence of masculinity has and it thrives in aligns with whatever the essence femininity has and thrives in. Oh yeah, now they check all boxes. One yin and yang. You have what the other one lacks. And then that's when you see relationships flourish. When you see that good combination. But that comes from getting out of that hyper masculine perspective. That comes from getting out of even Amber Rose. Niggas ain't shit. You gotta. That's not right. Now we have been indoctrinated to act like shit. All of us, men, women, a lot of us is acting like we ain't shit. But as a requisite, again, value being energy and power. You have power. You have literal force, and then you have a substance. You have a cognitive. So you hold value. So niggas are shit. Bitches are shit too. Cause we hear niggas ain't shit and bitches ain't shit. No, they both are valuable. Even when expressing what they're expressing. They just haven't lived up to their potential. You know what I'm saying? And they can show better forms of action that aren't divisive, that aren't negative. Because when we talk about the nigga, we might be talking about somebody mistreating a woman. We might be talking about somebody ignorant to everything except the environment in which they were bred in, inner city, hood conditions. You know what I'm saying? There's connotations to that nigga, even in our society as black people. Like Chris Rock with a joke. He said, there's black people and then there's niggas. So we see certain connotations. You might see a nigga pants hanging off his ass, talking very loud and belligerently inconsequential of everything around him. Not don't care if somebody is reading a book right next to him. Fucking pants down, expletive obsceneries, cussing at people and talking shit, giving a certain vibration. I'm gonna look on the bus. I'm like, that's a nigga. But I'm not. It's in the actions. Same way with hoe. I see somebody hoeing, that's a hoe. They are not unworthy though. That nigga is not unworthy though. They might be expressing a form that I don't condone, but they're better than that expression. You feel me? And I think that's the key in which, but even so, again, with Amber Rose and the hoe, because I think she would consider herself formerly a hoe, and she would consider her occupants or employers as hoes. I think she's a maiden. You know what I'm saying? So, or uh, whatever the female interpretation of a madam. Excuse me. I think the female interpretation of a pimp. So she wouldn't deny that she has hoes in her presence, but it's the denouncing of the claim when you call them a hoe. Like she's a hoe, she's unworthy. Oh, he's just a nigga. When Kramer said it, he's just a nigga. Oh, he's just a nigga. Oh, that's lesser than. Post, oh, that's my nigga. And then we have the creativity with language to use these words differently. Then we have the creativity to be innovative and just use different words. We don't have to box ourselves into the jargon that was here before us. Hence, where niggas say, my ninja. Hence, where people start calling each other gods and goddesses, kings and queens. Lux is real good at that, ironically. What up, loved one? What up, handsome? You feel me? Beloved. So it's a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? I think in this whole thing, again, privilege is just having rights that other peoples aren't privy to. If you have privilege in society, you should be mindful of the privilege you have because that is a power. You can act certain ways in which other people can't. That's a clear indication of a power in which you have that they don't. So with that power, specifically in this case, the power to speak, the power to be heard, black people are heard less than white people when it comes to plight. Just look at the political arrangement. Look at the people in power. Look at the ownership. Look at the media influence. The media influence, not the people faces you see on the media that might have a black face and you're like, oh, that's him speaking, so y'all do have power. Yeah, there's some power, but the influence, the media, the voice is not the people you see pumping the voice. These are the people in place for the agenda to pump the voice. And those people happen to be males, you know what I'm saying? White males. So you have to just be aware of these privileges and, you know, use your power righteously. Righteous, use your power with righteous intent. So, and then if you are connected, you are compassionate, you are loving, you are caring, then yeah, okay, as a man, I say hoe and I say bitch and I say slut in derogatory fashions. And I know those words have historically been associated with women because, again, hoe, slut, bitch, men can apply to all of them to me too, but historically we haven't used it that way. We just start really calling niggas hoes and sluts. And even then, it's analogous to player. You feel me? It's analogous to player, and player has always been endearing for man. So it's not the same. So yeah, as a man knowing your power, just be mindful of when you're around women and the words you're using. You around women and hey man, I talk to this bitch. How you think she might feel? Damn, you talk to a woman, but you referred to her as a bitch? Why you couldn't have just said woman? I'm talking to myself too. I'm not just lecturing to everybody outside of me. There's a part of me that has that part of breaking and reconstructing in my programming. You know what I'm saying? It's an unlearning and relearning mechanism that you have to practice and adhere to not be a victim of your circumstance, but be a overseer of your circumstance. And then you act in accordance or out of accordance to that circumstance, depending on what tools you picked up, because indoctrination and programming is just getting information signaling to your brain for you to act a certain way or not act a certain way. So you can be indoctrinated or programmed into something that is righteous. I've read certain things and got programmed, and it led me to my path and purpose of righteousness, of love conscious, raising my vibration and permeating that vibration to raise other vibrations in the universe, to get to that God level collectively. So yeah, there's programs you denounce and there's programs that you affirm to or ascend to. So you just gotta be aware. You don't have to call a woman a bitch. Be aware of the effect. White folks, since we talking about privilege, since we talking about privilege to my white folks, be mindful of the terms you use. Be mindful of your perception of black people, the connotations, your unconscious perceptions, because consciously everybody think they innocent consciously. That's the cold part. He talked to males about uh a woman's rights and the oppression of women. They hey, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I love women. I'm all for it. I love women too. I love women close and dear to me. But have I been programmed to have a general conception of woman as subordinate? If I live in America and Western society, most likely. Have I been programmed to look at black skin as inferior, dumb, unintelligent, or incapable, or even privy to pain at a different level? Yes, because I was in Western society where they taught all that shit. That's just programming. You are not only programming. You have a force. You have a mold. You feel me? You have a force beyond your programming, an essence that even permits the programming. Because you take away this force, your brain don't work. Take away this force, your body don't work. So that force inside of you is, in my opinion, even stronger than your cognition. So you don't have to be whim to the programming. You don't have to fall victim to bad programming that stagnates the collective or undermines black and brown folks or demonizes women for having sex. You don't have to be that. But you've been programmed like that, so you think you are that. And maybe you are. I don't know where you niggas at on a spectrum of existence. Maybe you align with all of what Western society has programmed you with. You know what I'm saying? I would say that's fine too, but if it leads to discord and dehumanization and divide, then it ain't cool. It's understandable because of programming, but it ain't cool. It ain't cool that when women speak, we don't listen. It ain't cool that when black people speak, white folks generally don't listen. They don't have the understanding or the compassion because they've been white or they've been males. Well, shit, I don't go through that. People gotta understand, like, the reason it's not easy for white people to understand black people's plight because they're not black. People have to understand that, which is why my boy said the differences. That's a great point. Yes, you have to acknowledge the distinctions. When you acknowledge them, you can understand and you can have compassion. You know what I'm saying? They don't go through the same shit that we go through when the cops come. They go through different shit. How do I know? Because they're telling us. I can't project my ego and my white experience that when I see a cop, it's hey Dave, or when I see a cop, damn, this person lives in my neighborhood, that's my buddy. Or when I see a cop, it's completely passive, no aggressive. Opposed to when they see cop and they get hit in the head with billy clubs, and they get jammed in the cars, and they get followed, and they get stopped with no infractions. Yeah, it's a different reality. So the understanding is going to be more difficult. Like I said, it's easy for me to empathize with a black man. I'm black and I'm a man. It's easy for me to empathize with a black man. But it takes willpower and resistance and a warrior spirit to battle your indoctrinated form of self to try and understand the other side. But that's what we need to do if we want to get together as a collective in the way in which we all talk about. We want to love, we just don't know how to love. We want to join, we just have been programmed to be more divisive. Even myself, like I said, I'm in anything I say, I'm never exempt. Just know that. So like I see my divisive nature, you know what I'm saying? I see ways in which I could be better. I see ways in which I use terms that offend people and I act like they don't offend people. I use my male privilege in a lot of instances, you know what I'm saying? I used to always think, okay, shit, I could fuck anybody I want. I'm a nigga. Like, that's how I used to growing up. I'm a nigga. And again, like the rite of passage. This is permissible. So much to the point that if you get called out for not doing it, you might fabricate. You might fabricate to get people off your back. Social pressures, especially when you're young and you don't have a fortified intentionality. When I was young and didn't have a fortified intentionality, I would fabricate a couple stories just to get niggas off my back. I live in my truth now to express and say that because the truth shall set you free. You feel me? I would never lie in an instance like that today. You know what I'm saying? But like you just see the social pressures being different. Whereas a woman might hide her bodies because if I tell my friends I fucked him, they might think something of me lesser. Niggas is in a rush to tell niggas they got some pussy. Cause yeah, I'm about to get my badge. Here come my badge of honor. So yeah, man. And then, but again, like it's all on you if you want to be better. So to live your truth, speak your truth, and be so connected to the truth that you permeate it because the truth, I believe that the truth sets people free because it's a relinquishing of the ego. The truth, it just is what it is. You are who you are naturally. You did what you did naturally. What happened, happened. You know what I'm saying? So just living in your truth and speaking that, it frees you up from mental constraints. So lying or that boxes you into certain constraints that confine your essence that wants to live in truth. So you live in that and you permeate that, and as a consequence, you get other people to live into their truth. And I think if we all live into our truth, we denounce these doctrines that are divisive and dehumanizing. And we get closer to that love conscious, that love vibration, that connectedness. Yeah, she's a hoe, but nigga, she's still dope. Yeah, I had some of my best dialogues have been with hoes and sluts. Like connected, like tapped in, like yeah, oh yeah, she's or a stripper, like yeah, so that's what they do. That's not who they are. I talk to homeless niggas and be some cool conversations. Like, that's where they at right now. That's the circumstance. That's not who they are, though. We got to start reevaluating value. Body, if you on here, I think that might be Sunday discussion value. So just to put that in your head, like, we got to reevaluate value because we're using it so materialistically that uh, we don't give respect to the spirit. We don't give respect to the cognition, but the spirit even more. Spirit supersedes the cognition. I just say the cognition because you have a brain function that can manifest and produce and do things with that can force external uh value. So you can create a car, you can create a gun, you can create a means. So having a brain holds value already, but we got to look even requisite to that. You hold an energy, you hold a force, so you are automatically of value, automatically worthy, automatically. Then what you do can uh, dictate how people value you, and it can raise your value or lower your value depending on what you're permeating in society, but you're already of value. Let's get that out the way. That dehumanizing shit got to go. Hold on, what you say? Also, who you are opposed to what you are. Who you are opposed to righteous. Righteous. Who you are, and the thing is, who puts it in cognitive, what puts it in truth. Who am I puts it in cognitive. What am I puts it in truth. What am I? I am a force with a mind and a body. I am a force with a mind. That's what I am. Understanding what I am, a force with the mind and the body, all those other attachments, that's who. These are not essential. I gave you the essentials. Like Scotty said, the what you are the essential properties. The who you are comes from subjective interpretation, even your own. You got a brain too. So who you are in your brain is arbitrary. You mad at me, but it is what it is, baby. I have what are considered to be male properties. I have melanated skin. So like those are the what's and the the possessions in which I truly obtain that quantify this nigga y'all see as Dame. But who I am, come on, man. Hold on. Who I am? Nobody knows, nigga. Why you think? And I was ahead of myself. Don't get ahead of yourself. You know how they tell you that. Don't get a fun. Don't listen to them niggas. Do what thou wilt. Shout out to Absol and Alex the Crowley. You niggas know me. But I was ahead of myself when I was thinking this because it was in that denouncing of the labels. But now I come to an understanding of, again, like what I am. Like, and over, I am a force with. So with my possession is my body and my mind. With. But I said I am a force. So the what being minimalized to not the external realm, to the internal, I am a force. So even melanated don't define me. That's just one external representation of the force. I'm eternal, therefore predominantly internal. So this melanin comes as a consequence to my energy. What you see right now comes as a consequence to my energy and my essence. If I was of a different essence, I wouldn't look entirely like this. This is why humans have a likeness and we look alike and we can communicate with each other because the lion don't share your same essential spectrum of energy. That's why that nigga looks like a lion. That's why they communicate with each other. So yeah, when you really start breaking down essential properties, you are a force with the likeness towards people who share your commonalities. So you know what I'm saying, find some humans to communicate and mate with and shit. But, you know, everything else becomes arbitrary. Holding people to these arbitrary labels and demeaning them based on these arbitrary labels only stagnates the quantum realm. You want to be like this with the world, or you want to be like this? Huh? Or you want to be like this, just everybody isolated? I don't know, like, because, like, I like being with me, but I like being with two me's better, or three me's, or four me's, or a room full of me's. So it's just something about that collective consciousness that permeates your likeness to a different level when you meet other people with the same likeness. And that's like, okay, if I'm living in heaven now, I just made more space for heaven. by by like grabbing other forces and with my likeness and bringing them together. I'm just making a bigger heaven. So I think people have to realize that when we are interacting and gathering understandings of different people, and you got to go meet different people. If you white, meet somebody that's black. Meet a Mexican. If you a female, talk to a male and share perspective. If you a male, talk to a female, not with the projections, but with the attempt to understand where they coming from. This is what compassion and empathy means. You know what I'm saying? Niggas be having sympathy with no empathy. Woman on a period, nigga feel sorry for him. That's it. Oh, I feel sorry for you. Shit. Woo! Glad I don't get no period. Sympathy, oh, something people don't want your sympathy. Sympathy is not you still feel for them, but you ain't gonna do much about it because you just feel sorry for them. But empathy is an understanding to where not only do I feel sorry, I feel connected to them. So not only do I feel sorry, but I feel the need to do something about it. So we got to get from sympathy to empathy. You feel me? Empathy is really where the love is at. You know what I'm saying? And the connectedness is at. Not projecting our ego. Oh, yeah, she goes through this. Not my problem. Fuck you and your problems. We focused on her right now. We could deal with you later, nigga. We could empathize and connect with you later. 108, man. But yeah, essential points with the Amber Rose discussion. It was hilarious how it started from CMOS to Amber Rose and shit. But I do concur. Again, it's different issues at hand. People got to understand. The first issue was CMOS in the club. Whether or not CMOS is something niggas should be doing in a club. Paradigm is corny. Loaded Lux does it, and it's useful nutritionally. These are just the facts. For the paradigm, it's corny, but for nutritional purposes and fighting shit like hangovers and you drinking, you might want to combat it with some CMOS. Logically, hey, don't shoot the messenger. So that was the first issue, whether or not CMOS should be in the club. Segue to consistency, because they were talking about CMOS and using it consistently so you could see the effects. And then Mook spilled into consistency. So whether or not consistency is better than talent, that was an issue. And I think it was undeniably, well, I don't say undeniably, but I concurred with it and nobody disputed that issue. It was a quick issue. But I believe consistency does beat talent, inconsistent talent. You got consistent talent versus consistent and less talented. Give me that talent consistent. But you have talented, no consistency, not so much talented, and a lot of consistency. Oh yeah, you'll see this one winning out. That's, to me, that's analogous to Jimmy Butler and who do I think is fire talent wise, but I don't think they're as consistent as Jimmy Butler. I don't want to say Paul George because I think Paul George is up there with him. I don't know, but you get my point. And then with Jimmy Butler, it's the will to win too. But I think that breeds a consistency. All right, Antetokounmpo and Anthony Davis. I think that would be better. Where Antetokounmpo is consistent, constantly working, constantly striving. I think consistency comes from willpower too, because to get up and do some shit diligently, daily, that comes with a different mind state. I'm working out early in the morning, then I'm working out again tonight because I want to be better. So that willpower, that mind state breeds that consistency. So I would take, I think Anthony Davis is more talented, but I would take Greek Freak based on the consistency and the willpower that he exudes. So to Mook's point, I agree with consistency beating talent when talent is inconsistent. And nobody disagreed, but then that spilled over to his verse, you feel me? Dudes wildin', crate challenge, bitches shaking their ass for thousands. No talent is the new talent. Then Amber Rose said, "Hold on, you got an issue, nigga?" And that's where I start concurring with her sentiments in regards to, because somebody making money, however they make it, that ain't no problem. If someone has an issue with that, that's their problem. And that's why she said, she's like, you're a hater. That is, to me, that is hating. Like, if you have an issue with somebody, again, you don't have to encourage every action, but this their life and they're making their money however they make it. Again, respect at the minimal is to respect the life. Respect the life force. So you don't have to demean and undermine me because you don't encourage my actions. So even knocking my hustle, because that's what, to me, that's what Mook did. No talent is a new talent. This shit is disgusting. These crate challenges, you knocking somebody hustle. You taking food out of somebody's plate if they listen and adhere to your words as a male in society. Just something to be mindful of. So, yeah, just being mindful of privilege. I think that's where the issue spilled of male privilege and the effect we have on these words and how they affect women. And I think the shit we say does affect people in this world. Women, men, black men, all people in this world are affected by the objective reality and the standards in which we've created. That's the environment. So yeah, everybody's affected by the environment. So just knowing that and having the power and being mindful of your role in shaping the environment, yeah, maybe you don't have to call them hoes in a derogatory fashion. Maybe you don't have to refer to women as bitches. Maybe you should listen to her. You feel me? And then that makes for, again, better connection, man. That's all we about. And with that being said, man, it's Friday morning. You feel me? I switched it up. Freestyle Friday is now a morning thing because I permeate better in the morning. I vibe higher in the morning. So it only makes sense in the realm of rhythm and timing and circadian rhythm and all that good stuff. So catch me every Friday morning, and then Sunday morning we got Sunday breakfast to come in again. This Sunday will be another great episode. Shout out to my boy Scotty. But yeah, all we doing is permeating love and light. You feel me? Hit the likes, hit the shares, subscribe, do whatever it is you do to support and show the love and reciprocity. Comment. But you know we'll be back, man. It's your boy Dang. Peace, and that's my thoughts, man. I think people be like, who was right? There is no right or wrong, but there is deductive reasoning to establish certain truths. So you establish the essence of the words being employed, and then you look at those words in comparison to the society. So when Amber Rose suggests that hoe is an undermining term, we look at hoe at its essential function. Okay, yeah, getting paid for money is whole shit. Everybody can apply, but however, look at the society and how it's been used. Hoe has been used in a derogatory fashion, generally to explain women, even when women are not getting paid. Some women are just being sluts, sleeping with a lot of men, subjectively, depending on what's a lot of men, and they're being called a hoe because it's a ridiculing connotation. So yeah, no, man. Just being mindful of this type of shit. You don't want to hurt your woman, do you? Do you want them to feel subordinate? Some of you niggas do, insecure. Because if they feel subordinate, you could prey on their weakness. That's sad. That's sad. I just came up with that because I feel that now. I understand it now. Niggas be trying to people put people down to pick themselves up. We live in that Western white male society. They put black people down and they put women down so they could feel better. And I'm not talking about just your white neighbor. I'm talking about the collective agreement and the ideology being pervaded by white males historically in Western society. These niggas created sciences and philosophies and have counsel on how to delegate the social norms. So I'm talking about that white male perspective, not your neighbor, Ryan. Ryan is cool. He's just a byproduct. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, nah, man. You realize, okay, a lot of people are devaluing and hating out of insecurity. If they love themselves and they're confident in who they are, there would be no need to just devalue somebody else, in my opinion. You feel more connected. You feel like you want to lift that person up because you feeling that vibe. Shit, I want to lift this person up. But if you feeling like you might not be so great, then you might put down the other person and that might make you feel better. Oh shit, she just broke up with her man. Let me go. What type of nigga is you? Huh? She just broke up with her nigga. Now you creeping in, just preying on her insecurities. This is why you want to keep her low. For your, again, using a human as a means rather than respecting their end. Using her as a means to your end. Tisk, tisk, tisk. But with that being said, it's 117. I covered all my main points. Males with male privilege, males, you have male privilege, and with that privilege, being mindful of what you say is just it's just a logical exercising of the privilege and the power in which you obtain. You know you have power, now wield it. Use it in a way that's uh, helpful to society. You know what I'm saying? Women, you're not as privileged as males. We know this. And we're some of us are willing to lend our ears and understanding. Give us give us be patient with us. Be patient with us. A lot of us are stuck in our ego and we think things are the way they are. A lot of niggas are traditionalists. So be patient with us. So we can more of us can come to an understanding. Don't be so quick to say niggas ain't shit or we unworthy. Don't stoop to the level to where now it's just a bickering battling game and it's women versus men. Like, no, hell no. It's woman and man. It ain't never women versus men. I don't care what society keep trying to tell niggas. And with that being said, it's your boy Dane. Much love. Go check out that shit. I think that was a good discussion. And they kept it in the realm of love, meaning it wasn't derogatory towards each other. Like, y'all women do the da 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 da, y'all men da da da. Even though they did say niggas ain't shit, and even though Mook did discourage hoes. So they did have a little bit of derogatory claims made by the general, but as individuals, they kept it respectful. So and I think that's always a plus in discussion. Keep it respectful. Remember, dissociate your feelings and as much as you can, because again, they both got offended in some way. That's human nature. In the realm of discussion and when forming arguments, do your best to apply deductive reasoning and logic to get the most truth out to the table and to even explain why you saw it or felt a certain way. And then you feel me, when you remove that emotional appeal to the things you think and how you feel, it makes for less friction. You're not gonna want to bite the nigga head off. You might be more receptive to the information, and the discussion is more fruitful and better. I think their discussion was pretty fruitful. I don't think their perspective shifted as much. You feel me? A little bit of ego clouding the ability to gain perspective, but I think they had a better discussion than one of more friction. So with that being said, it's your boy Dan. Much love. Highest the vibes. Freestyle Friday episode 4. If Lauren, if you watching, no, I'm not rapping, nigga. But I'm rapping with the W. It's your boy Dane, man. Peace.